Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Dracovin Empire. I hope you're ready to dive back into the Sixth World. Yes, today we're going to be going back to Shadowrun to visit a new country that we can learn all about, know about visiting, exploring, and running in the shadows. We're heading to the United Kingdom today, so we hope you're ready. Grab my hand as we travel through time and space to a futuristic version of the United Kingdom deep into the 20s. In an alternate world history also, magic has returned. Your guide here today, Candace Naravanjikun, will lead you there. Remember, put the tip with liking, subscribing, and the bell at the very least. As we dive deep into the shadows once more. We've arrived. It's the late 21st century. We're in this alternate world, visiting this. We've entered London. It's such a different place than it was. Well, perhaps we should learn about what's been going on here. We might have to grab some books that can tell us about the history, and maybe some details about what's going on. What can we discover? Well, the Sixth World Almanac's a great place to learn about for 4th edition. If you want to dive back into 3rd edition, of course, Shadows over Europe. And from even earlier, the London Sourcebook from 1st edition give you some basic information to start from. They're all different time periods that they give, different levels of history. But I personally will be focusing on the Sixth World Almanac most today, with a little bit of information from the others. Well, now that we're here, what do we know about how the United Kingdom exists now? What's the format? It still uses its same flag, of course. Well, with the United Kingdom as it is, it's now only England, Scotland, Wales. Northern Ireland is no longer part of it. Still, English is the main language, though Gaelic/Welsh and Punjab/Urdu do still exist. We're about a little over 59 million people nowadays. Still constitutional monarchy under Her Majesty the Queen herself, Queen Caroline. You know. Again, it's still more parliament more than anything today. We'll have to talk about that. Yeah. A lot of things has happened here in England, but we are maintaining. Now, yes, English and Celtic groups are still the most, with small groups from Afro-Caribbean, Indian, and other that exist here. And there are still big groups, Druidic groups, and neo-paganism has gone big. Roman Catholic is still there, but the Anglican, the Church of England, still is a major religious group if you're looking into it. So again, a good chunk of the population isn't there. Now they do use pound sterling, which has a £1 sterling is about 0.55 million. And euros and million do have both limited accessibility here, too. So, yeah. Interesting things going on here. Let's look at the timeline. What's been going on? Now, I'm going to go over the basics of the timeline and then go into more details about it, just to give you an idea of the major events. We'll kind of talk about it as I go. So, really, England's current history as it starts in 2004. That's when the timeline kind of digresses. The partial meltdown of the Dungeness reactor creates the Kent irradiated zone in 2004. This is the first of major events which will shake England to its core, and strangely enough, not really destroy it. But a lot of pollution, economic failures, chemical dumping, toxic clouds, oil spills, radioactive things, these incidents seem negligible in things like Vetus, the Awakening, Goblinization, all these big events that were happening. UGE. Vetus itself left 1 in 4 dead in the country. 1 in 4. Now, in December 23rd, 2007, Crown Princes William and Harry are killed in a plane crash. In 2009, Charles III is crowned. A little earlier than in our time. In 2011, the Shuase-owned Sizewell B reactor has its critical meltdown. In 2011, the Black Tide surges across the waterways of East Angola, devastating the region, creating polluted Stigfens. The Downing reactor and Hassock facility explodes in 2011, creating the Scottish irradiated zone. In 2011, also, in December, stone circles and manas erupt from the earth across the countryside and ley lines reactivate. In 2012, on January 1st, King Charles III abdicates the throne and disappears. In 2014, the House of Commons passed the Acts of Dissolution. Irish and British governments signed the Treaty of Galway. And 1 week later, create the United Free Republic of Ireland. So big things there. For UAG, during this time period, in 2011, 31% of children are born as elves. 31%. A third are born as elves. Globalization affected a large number of British citizens, transforming 40% of some people in some communities. Insurgent immigrants struck the kingdom at a rate that was twice the global average. Again, they tie this to perhaps all the ley lines that are actually under the British Isles. Or the magical destiny of the United Kingdom, hard to say. In 2016, the Scottish fringe toxin was created after an oil spill, manipulated by eco-terrorists. King George VII's death is announced to the nation in 2021. We'll talk about that in a second. Magic comes back in the 2010s, though, too. And interestingly enough, with all of that, England does pretty well with magic. It's really interesting that the Awakening, it has dozens of dragons, wyverns, magic coming back, things erupting from the sea, an entire island that was dubbed Leonese, the final resting place of King Arthur, it burst from the English Channel. 2 of the major great dragons, Sedelier and Ranabi, are put into place, and there's the sea dragon, who might be a sea dragon. You know, there's nationalism that happens here. And the British people are like, it's magic. They accept it very well. And especially the leading new druidic movement, which is very important coming about by this time, under their leader, Lord Marchmont, kind of shoved a lot of this forward. Now, from 2021 to 2024, there's a dispute on who's going to be the heir. Because the direct Windsor line is dead with the death of George VII. And George Windsor Hanover, who becomes King George VIII, is eventually the crown head. Now we have to reach into 2025 with some interesting things that happen here. Basically, the nationalistic zeal that was forming under all this. Basically, a lot of shit was happening in England, and they doubled down. They doubled down on their zeal. They believed in their magic, the magic of our nation. Hey, magic's coming back. We were always a magical nation. We have all these great tales of magic and tales. Elves, orcs, trolls, dwarfs, all coming back to it. It was natural for England. And into this field, the office of Lord Protector is created. And that head of the New Druidic movement I mentioned, Lord Marchmont, is appointed to the post. This is important. This is in 2025. The UK Constitutional Act creating that. Now we do have some larger elements heading into the 2030s. The Yarrow Knockdown Realtor creates the Northern Radiant Zone. The Zone Allocations Procedure Act is passed. The Gwynedd Elf Enclave is established in northwestern Wales. Military force secure the Yorkshire Fringe Toxic Zone due to undetermined chemical reactive threat in 2037. 2038 Project 2420. Adam Hoffman's corporate genetic manipulation experiments of English citizens is exposed to media, with riots that established the Lambeth Contamination Zone. 2039, another chemical spill, including nerve agents in Tennessee's district, claiming 70,000 casualties. Pretty big. During these years, Office of Lord Protector becomes very powerful. Nationalism faded, but the Lord Protector and the New Druid movement basically maintained their power, using this new censorship, surveillance, oppressive new laws, basically down on the people of England. Oppression was becoming the new norm during this time. 2047, a Proto-Vetus outbreak in Tywin kills 120,000 victims. We get to the 2050s. Now, the big one here is Parliament certifying the Northern Habitable Zone after several half-hearted detoxification programs. But yes, the 2050s. This is the time of revolution. Basically, this nationalistic zeal and protection of the people under the Lord Protector office, which was created to basically deal with the turmoil that was going on. As much as the people of England were dealing with the issues, the early part of the 21st century was filled with turmoil. And it still was like, yes, we're living with it. You're not suffering the worst. It's still turmoil. It's still disruptive. There's still a lot of bad things going on, a lot of crazy things, a lot of death, a lot of changes. We're dealing with it. And the Lord Protector's office was supposed to deal with that. But it became oppressive. And now we have revolution brewing, an underground movement against the Lord Protector's office and the lackeys. Magic and mundane weapons, fighting back, not bowing but to this aristocratic minority that basically had grown more distant from the masses of each passing day and gained more power. This was the 2050s and 2060s. Of course, in early 2060s, we have Halley's Comet, with nationwide magical phenomena. Astral shadows at Catonsbury, mysterious restoration of Stonehenge, lengthening of several ley lines. In 2062, Limines re-emerges from the English Channel as an immediate cordoned off by the Royal Navy. It comes back. 2062, an interesting character in December, Pendragon, makes his first appearance at London's Neighbours Festival. He'll come up again in just a minute, because we're heading into the 2070s. 2071. This conflict, which has been building through the 2050s and the 2060s, comes to a head. A collection of previously unassociated revolutionary groups banded together to form an alliance. This band of activists secretly organized the largest peaceful demonstration in history. On the evening of June 23rd, 2071, nearly 2 million Candleberry marchers descended on London's inner city. And despite the crowds and aggressive tactics by the LPO's security forces, little violence occurred. Most attribute this to a minor miracle, but to one man, Pendragon. For the last decade, this man, the Pendragon, showing up, has provided spiritual heart to this resistance movement. Time and time again, appearing at the moment of crisis, rallying the people, moving speeches, calling for every citizen to bear their responsibility in restoring freedom for the nation. On this evening, before the gates of Buckingham Palace, he made a final appearance. In a dramatic speech, he challenged the leaders of the United Kingdom to throw off the shackles of the LPO and return the power to the people. As he finished, and the LPOs moved to arrest him, they were stopped short of one person. Queen Caroline. Still, a figurehead in British government, of course, since the constitutional monarchy has always made it that way. But she came out from the palace and stood beside him. She announced support for Pendragon's proposals to the roaring approval of the crowd. 2 weeks later, Parliament voted to dissolve the office of Lord Protector, and the elderly Lord Magismat proceeded to voluntary exile. Now, the new Druidic movement, which gained power under him, still is powerful, but it has been reduced. Still in government. At the center of this organization stood Prime Minister William Darch, who for the first time in years holds an office that has actual power. And by the morning of June 24th, Pendragon was gone, and has not been seen since. A figure which may be a reincarnation of King Arthur, maybe a spirit, maybe something else. Who knows? There are so many rumors around this character. But he led, through speech and word, an inspiration for people of the United Kingdom to rise up against their oppression, which they had formed in a time of crisis. For nearly 50 years, they had been under this. It was 40 years, sorry. But they've pushed forward. That's the United Kingdom in a lot of ways, in a nutshell. Now, that does lead us to the politics, and this kind of is a political chart that you can find in 3rd edition. I wanted to use it because it showed how 3rd edition, how the Parliament was set up. But if you look at any time from 2025 to 2071, during that time period, this entire time, August. So it was 20. I was 50. The Lord Protector was the most powerful man, and a powerful druid. It controlled everything. education, licensing, registration of magic users, technomancers and cyberware, and national security. And, the main rivals were Queen Caroline, a young and popular monarch in the growing political party. Basically, she came into office in a situation where her father hadn't really done a lot, and, just kind of allowed things to happen in a lot of ways. So, yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, George VIII is not particularly well known. But again, Caroline has stood up for things, become populist in a lot of ways like that. So yeah. So, with Pendragon, with things changed, with the peaceful protest, and with Lord Protector gone, the government is back to basically a lot of what it is similar to now. What we think about for the British government, it's returned to that. The Queen, the royalty, still figurehead, and then we have Parliament. It's two houses. It's returned to that. That government never went away. I think that's an important thing to note here. That side of the government, these other groups did not go away. The royalty had its mixed bags, like Queen Caroline's father had been very much in corporate pockets, unfortunately, which didn't help in a lot of ways. The Lord Protector's office had basically taken all the government power. So Parliament wasn't there. It was just more of a figurehead at that point in time. Yeah. And this new government, under this, Parliament still theoretically had power. But again, the threat of the Lord Protector's office kept them from using it. It was a threat. Now they're back. They're back in charge. And it's interesting to see that Pendragon's gone. He didn't want any part in that. And it is also interesting that, with this new government, they couldn't get rid of all the uses of the Lord's Protector office. Some of the functions were necessary, and had to restructure, and they carried this out with the help of HKB, Hildebrand Kleinfort Bernal, the largest British corporation, and the largest of the Eurobanks. So, they had to look to corporate assistance to help finalize the restructuring of their new government. Alright. As the United Kingdom is in 4th edition, there's a map of it. So I'm not going to get into all the full details, but in part that is England. It's 47 boroughs, 36 counties, 29 London boroughs, 12 cities and boroughs, 10 districts, 12 cities, 3 boroughs. Scotland has 32 council areas. Wales has 11 country boroughs, 9 counties, 2 cities, and countries. Yeah. Of course, I probably should mention the cities. Cities are Bristol, Derby, Kingston, upon Hall, Leicester, London, Nottingham, Peterborough, Plymouth, Portsmouth, Southampton, Stoke-on-Trent, York, of course Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Aberdeen in Scotland, and Cardiff and Swansea in Wales. It's United Kingdom, it's England. I guess we can talk about the major cities a little bit. London we should talk about, but we'll talk about it, actually, now. We want to talk about London. We now kind of take a look at it. It's England, there are some big changes there, some ley lines, magic, little islands, radiated zones, pollution, and all that kind of stuff, but in its end, and some territories that are controlled by great dragons now, and they just claim some land. But in the end, it's still United Kingdom. London's been through a lot of crap. It's been repaired and reconstructed constantly. With acid rain, filth-laden stogs, civil uprisings, make it really problem. There was the Dome Project, which basically in the 2030s, Parliament tried to cover inner London with a giant fibre fabric dome. But terrorists unleashed some deadly toxin into that, killing thousands, and then the dome was taken down mostly, but still some of it's left. Ugh. The London sprawl is circled by the M25 motorway. Inner London is the center, surrounded by the commuter belt of Orbos. Both the working-class citizens that live in the outlying communities. There are sort of number of districts in the inner parts of the city still. Things like Big Ben, House of Parliament, Buckingham Palace, the Tower of London still stand. St. Paul's Cathedral, though, did burn down in a riot in 2066. So most of these big places that were here, these historic buildings, still do exist in the current timeline. One of the most notorious inner London neighborhoods is the Lambeth Containment Zone, the Squeeze. It's a walled ghetto in the heart of London. Basically, in 2038, after discovering that the Adam Hawken Corporation had that genetic experiments, they barricaded the rioters in this neighborhood. Since the dissolution of the LPO, basically they're trying to recover this area. It's kind of in ruin. The people living there are a difficult challenge. They've been isolated, abused at the hand of the Office of Lord Protectors. So, yeah, kind of hard. Birmingham is the ultimate expression of modern industrialization gone awry. Endless rows of stained concrete buildings as far as the eye can see, and a factory sprawl that stands in Town Monarch and the Bull. Myron Sprawl is born from the extending borders of Liverpool and Manchester. Sprawl is finally merging, featuring a mix of relatively well-off university neighborhoods, crime-ridden docks, and filthy barons. It's a little bit of everything. Scott Sprawl is a distinctive region even more pronounced. On one hand, there's Edinburgh, regional capital of Scotland, located on the King's official residence in the country, in home of Edinburgh University. On the other hand, there's Glasgow, a dirty, dank sprawl choked with manufacturing plants that have kind of merged together. Newcastle Highland Sprawl lies in the finger of the Northern Pacific Zone. The toxic beat off the zone often finds its way into its air and water, causing outbreaks of chemical poisoning. The worst was in 2047, which I mentioned. That was actually, they claimed it was a Vetus outbreak, but that 120,000 is actually chemical space. I don't know how they have information to some spots. Nottingham is basically almost as charging as most folk can envision. It's still a sprawl, but the local ordinance have limited buildings to 10 stories, and green space is a priority. One of its main attractions is the Sherwood Theme Park. The park bought up to the land around Nottingham Castle, torn down many of the buildings, and used magic for a short portion of Sherwood Forest. The old growth forest is quite beautiful, and numerous Robin Hood-themed attractions. It also is an impressive zoo of paranormal and awakened animals. Cambridge is the center of the research and development industry for the United Kingdom. The school is surrounded by corporate research institutes, and many of the professors and dons moonlight as consultants. Like Nottingham, it has basically instituted a building height of 16 stories, giving the city a turn of the century. The only exception is the old Fuji habitat owned by Neonet, which lies 3 miles north of town. Cardiff Carridon, the center of the Welsh government. The Welsh Royal Infirmary, the major employer of the city and well known for its experimental medical work, involves shamanic and other magical therapies. It's also home to Cardiff Castle. Alright, a little bit to finish up today. We have to talk about, of course, corporate presence. Oh, we've mentioned some with Hildebrandt, Kleinfurt, and Bernal, but As Technology, ATT, IWS, Novatech, Regulus Joint Industries, Transient Neuronet with its HQ in Edinburgh, and Zeta Impchen have their hands in the United Kingdom. As within the United Kingdoms also, there is some crime. Hey, it's the sixth world. There's going to be crime everywhere. For this, the dominant crime organization is the Tongs, which most powerful is the Silent Reed Tongs. If you're wondering, the Tongs are associated by basically those of Chinese descent. In London, there are indigenous British crime families known as firms. Other foreign crime syndicates involved in the rackets or the smuggling network extends to the United Kingdoms include the Russian Vori, the Yakuza, Ghost Cartels, Afro-Caribbean, Zobop, and the Indo-Asia crime families. Street gangs are a plague of both the London Sprawl and Mercer Sprawl, especially the Yardies. Yardies being a specifically area to the squeeze. It originated there, but it does have, as of 2072, 3,000 members in the United Kingdom, Caribbean League, UCS, and in Europe, and primarily the United Netherlands and Denmark. And it doesn't discriminate against metatype. It favors trolls and orcs. Yep. There's some other things about the Yardies, but we'll leave it there at that. But hey, now you have an idea of United Kingdom in a nutshell, and how's it going? It's on the up and up, honestly. It's one of those interesting things is the United Kingdom has been through the ringer like a lot of countries. And certainly, they let Northern Ireland join the rest of Ireland, which eventually became Tiernan. But for the most part, they remain. And we can see that Queen Caroline is popular, as we've had a whole bunch of British monarchs in between that time period, and it was a mixed bag with them. At least the current queen has a lot of popularity, and with her help and the help of this mysterious finger of Pendragon, the United Kingdom is in the better. They went through a time of oppressive government with power down on them, and they went through that for about 50 years. They doubled. And now they've finally regained their freedom, and they are rebuilding what they were. There's a lot of damage to the country. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of work to be done to make their place a better place, but they're in a position where they're planning on working on it. It's the kind of thing that I think is important to look at for this figure of the Pendragon. He didn't want rulership, this figure. But this figure has speeches about having people doing the work that they need to rise up. He inspired this current generation to be the people that are rising up and rebuilding the United Kingdom. And it is an impressive and great story that I feel like tells a great one. Now, this doesn't say that there isn't, space for a good runner to pop in. Certainly speaking, the shadows will always be there. The corporations are there. There's still corruption. There's still problems. Hey, our good friends in the, our druids are still there under the Lord Protector's office. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The new druidic movement still has a lot of power. Yeah, they didn't go away. So it's definitely a thing to consider too. There's still a lot of places in the shadows that one could work on. We'll leave it. I hope you enjoyed learning about the United Kingdom deck. I thought this was an interesting one to dive into because, it's a country that, certainly speaking, we have a good view on. There's a lot of countries we have a good view on. I think what it is there is an influence of British history in a lot of world history. The British Empire had spread across the world, that's the kind of thing. So it's sort of like, it's interesting because it's connected with a lot of other world histories and a lot of countries and regions in the world. When we talk about it, we are hinting at that too, the new history of that. And I think this is a good kind of interesting evolution of history there. And it also shows a lot of, with the information provided, the kind of things that go through countries in the Sixth World. It's a good example. So even if you don't have an idea or there isn't written material on a country, you might be able to kind of speculate a little bit by looking at countries like this. I think that's why they're important. Anyway, I did hope you enjoyed. Remember to give support. That's liking, subscribing, and I said earlier, but also leave a comment. What do you think about the United Kingdom? Have you done adventures in there in a Shadowrun game, or does this inspire you in some way to go check it out, go on a run or something in this place, or maybe run a run? I'm interested in that. If you want to check out anything that I do, it's either going to be up on Twitch where I record and stream all these live, and then I put everything up on YouTube. The schedule for that goes up on my Discord, Blue Sky, X/Twitter, and over on my YouTube channel. My 3 social media is a great place to see what's going on, changes in that schedule, updates, all those kind of things, cat pics. That's a really great place. And basically, you know, my YouTube schedule is a lot more exact than my Twitch schedule as it is currently in life, but I'm trying to get the other one down a little bit better. So, hey, I'm never really on time, but maybe one day I'll start being on time. Yeah, remember to check all that stuff out, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed today, and that's all the things to shout out. Oh, live plays of TTRPGs. I've had them in the past. I'll have more of them. Check those out. I am planning in probably the next year at some point in time, hopefully less than that, to get a Shadowrun game up on the channel where I'm running it. Probably going to be doing 5th edition. So, hey, shouting that out now for when it comes in the future. And then, of course, discuss tabletop settings and 6. And all the watch old D&D, Pathfinder, and World of Darkness shows. Those are all good too. Alright, everybody, I'm going to be going. Farewell. Bye for now. Goodbye.